Islington, Barnaby.
Hello, Tom.
Who?
Hello, Tom.
Tom's not available at the moment. I can put you on hold till he comes in.
Well, you could do. I know your name's Nick, but I like calling you Tom because I know it irritates you.
Well, it doesn't
All right, Nick.
particularly bother me one way or another. Yes, Dave.
Yeah. All right, Nick. Earlier, you were mocking everything about Brexit, yeah?
Mocking?
Yes, mocking.
Well, I wasn't mocking everything about Brexit. I simply asked what the benefits of Brexit were, and nothing was received in response.
So basically, the British population are a bunch of idiots.
Okay, are we going to this again? That if
I'm just saying,
if you voted for Brexit, then that makes you an idiot in my mind.
The British population are a bunch of idiots.
Is that your position? The British?
I'm asking you, is that your position?
Only the idiots.
Only the 17.6 million majority are idiots.
No, only the idiots are idiots.
But the rest of them who voted were quite sensible, but somehow they made an idiotic decision.
Only the sensible ones.
Listen, Nick, I suppose, the majority voted for it, and you mock them as idiots. Come out and say it on the radio, the British people are idiots.
I'm not sure about the British people, Barnaby, but I've made my mind up. I've made my mind up about you, if that's any help.
I'm an idiot. I'm glad to admit it. But the majority voted for it. The majority of the British population are idiots in your mind.
Barnaby, where do you get from there are no benefits to Brexit to everybody that voted for it is an idiot in my mind?
Well, are they or are they not?
Well, let me put it like this. If, having gone through that procedure and seen the results, if you are then still of the opinion that Brexit is a good thing, despite all of the evidence to the contrary, then, yeah, I suppose that would make you an idiot.
I see no change in my life. What's the evidence to the contrary?
You see no change in your life?
No, none whatsoever.
Then what's the benefit of Brexit?
Because it was a matter that we were sick of being pushed around by the EU.
In what way were we being pushed around?
Because we were saying, we want this, and they're saying, no, you're not having that.
What, like what?
We want limits to our immigration. I'm not anti-immigration, but I am actually. But, and no, we want to do it like this. And they said, no, you can't do it like that. And
yes, Barnaby, but since we left, but Barnaby, since we left, immigration has gone up.
I know, because everyone wants to get out of Europe.
No, not from Europe. From outside Europe. People from Europe are not coming here. They're actually leaving. That's one of the reasons why we have so many job. That's one of the reasons why we have so many job vacancies, because all of the people that we yelled to get out of our country for 5 years left.
Why don't they stop in France? Why are they so desperate to come here?
Because when we left the European Union, we then gave up the right to send the people back to France. That was the part of our rights as a member of the European Union. We could do that when we were in the club, but we can't do it now we're out.
Well, but so why are they so desperate not to stay in France, a safe country, but to get to Britain?
Barnaby, you're not listening to what I'm telling you.
Well, you're suggesting. What I'm asking you.
You're telling me that Brexit is good, and one of the benefits of Brexit is that fewer people will come here. Ironic. You just said that.
Brexit was good. No, I didn't. I didn't say Brexit was good. I said nothing has changed for me. I was just asked you, are the British people idiots for having voted for Brexit?
You keep asking me that, and my answer is only the idiots, of which you seem to be one.
Is it? So, out of the 17.6 million, how many of them do you suppose are idiots?
The idiots are idiots.
How many of the 17.6 million do you suppose that is?
Barnaby, that is such such a stupid question. I can't even fathom how a human being would form it in their minds and then allow it to escape their lips. How many of 17-odd million people are idiots? Do you think I've gone around with a clipboard asking them?
Well, you seem to have.
I seem to have. What does that mean?
A very cast iron opinion on the matter. Brexit is an idiotic decision.
It turned out to be an idiotic decision. That is correct. You just said it.
No, I was hypothesizing. That's what you said.
Certainly are.
Anyway, Tom, very nice to have spoken to you.
Wow, that was as funny the second time as you said it the first time.
Okay, the British people are idiots, yeah?
No, just you. Just you. A group of one. We found one. Took a while. Took 3 hours, in fact. But you turn over enough rocks and eventually you're going to find one. And there he was. In Islington, of all places. Holland Park. Nick.
Hello, Nick.
Nick.
Is the question still, what have the Conservatives done for us in the last 13 years, or are you bored with that now?
I did that as a throw out a couple of weeks ago, and in 3 hours I got not one single solitary thing, so I think I'm bored with that.
I think I've got the answer there, if you can bear
You do? Let's hear it. Go ahead.
They got Brexit done.
They didn't. Brexit is still being done as we speak.
Well, ongoing process, I grant you, but they did
so
get
not
that done.
Actually done then.
Well, I mean, we left the European. Okay, look, let's not bicker about that. It's just you asked for one thing, and that is one thing. Come on.
No, I said positive. I said positive thing. Has anything positive happened? Has anything positive come of Brexit?
Well, it doesn't matter. It makes me feel good every time I wake up and think about it, which is not every day, but when...
Nick, I can't listen to another single solitary syllable. It makes you feel good every day when you wake up. Really? What is it about Brexit that makes you feel so good, Nick? Apart from alleviating a feeling of inadequacy. Yeah, now we are bestriding the world again. The map's coloured pink. It makes you feel good. Well, there you go. We found one. The Conservative Party makes him feel good. There you go. It's as good as any. Well done, Nick. Congratulations. Meanwhile, in Brexit-backing Tamworth, victory for Labour saw the party overturn the Tories' 19,600 vote majority from the 2019 general election. In Brexit-backing Tamworth. How's Brexit going for you, Tamworth people?
Oh, fabulous.
That's what I thought. Are you feeling the benefits yet?
No.
How about when you wake up in the morning? Oh, it makes me feel good all over. I feel all gooey. Isn't it an absolute dream? The swing from the Tories to Labour in the Staffordshire constituency of Tamworth was 23.9 percentage points, which is the second largest managed by Labour at a by-election since 1945. It was even bigger than the 23.7 percentage point swing that Labour achieved when winning the Selby and Ainsty by-election in July, if indeed there is such a place. And none of which is in any way a reflection of how the public feel about the Conservative Party, of course. The public merely wished to express the deep affection it has for the Tories by not voting for them. It's that simple. After the resignation of former Tory Deputy Chief Whip Chris Pincher, after he was found to have acted like a total Tory, Labour candidate Sarah Edwards defeated her Tory rival by a majority of 1,316 votes, also known as not remotely enough. I mean, that's a squeak, ain't it? 1,316 votes. And the Tory candidate also made a swift exit from the count without listening to her speech, which is just plain rude. Mr. Sunak this week declined to condemn an apparent suggestion by Mr. Cooper, the candidate concerned, that out-of-work parents who cannot afford to feed their children should bleep off.
Disgusting.
That's what he said. They should bleep off. He did a flowchart, all of which ended in, unless you had work and money, you could bleep off. It's the government's official position. It's one of Titchy Suitsize's priorities, telling those who have chosen to be poor to bleep off. But before Labour gets carried away, they should remember that they won by fewer votes than were gained by Reform UK. If you added the votes received by Britain First, UKIP and the monster raving Looney Party, that would add up to about the same number of people that were the Labour Party's majority. 155 people voted for the monster raving Looney Party.
What?
Yeah. Wake up, people. It is later than you think. What are you doing? This is too important for stupidity. For what is, I assume, the bragging rights to go on Twitter and boast that you just voted for the loony. And on a side note, are you even allowed to say loony anymore?
No.
I wouldn't think so. And following the double by-election victory, Sir Keir said, "These are phenomenal results that show Labour is back in the service of working people and redrawing the political map." Whatever that means. He says, "Winning in these Tory strongholds shows that people overwhelmingly want change and they're ready to put their faith in our changed Labour Party to deliver it." Not sure about that. But I think it's more like they just can't stand it anymore. He said voters across Mid-Bedfordshire, Tamworth and Britain want a Labour government determined to deliver for working people with a proper plan to rebuild our country. We have to take our country back. He said, "To those who have given us their trust and those considering doing so, Labour will spend every day acting in your interest and focused on your, here comes, priority."
What?
He said it. "We will be focused on your priorities." Maybe he can say the word priorities without sounding, like a cartoon character. He said, "Labour will give Britain its future back." I still can't take that seriously. I mean, what on earth does that mean? It sounds like a line that they dropped from Marty McFly's dialogue. Labour will give Britain its future back. What does that mean? But, think about who the real victim here is. Poor Titchy. Fishy Sunak will be left reeling after he attempted to revive Tory fortunes with a recent policy blitz, says the Mail. The PM made announcements on net zero, the HS2 rail line, A-levels shake-up and a New Zealand-style smoking ban. He's come out as woke-phobic. He's tried being unpleasant to foreigners. He's tried blaming the poor for their bad luck. He's had his Home Secretary stamp on a guide dog for the blind. But nothing seems to be working. The Tories have tried to be as unpleasant and uncaring and crooked and incompetent as they possibly can be. And it doesn't seem to be popular with the public. The strategists in Number 10 must be totally bemused, pulling their hair out, I bet. And the results are double delicious for Labour because Tamworth isn't even among the party's target seats for the general election. They'd given up on it as being too Tory to bother with. And the excuses given by the regime for its towering unpopularity are comedy gold. I mean, we heard Gillian Keegan, who is the actual education minister, if you can believe that. I think it's the 31st education minister we've had in the past 2 weeks. She said that the biggest swings to Labour since numbers were invented were in fact not swings to the Labour Party. You get an F, Gillian Keegan. See me after class. And Tory Minister Andrew Bowie said... Rock and roll! Not that Bowie. He says, what's quite clear and what's been demonstrated is that while people support the priorities of the government, people are reserving judgment about who they're going to vote for in the general election. Yeah, that's right. 2 massive losses are clear evidence that the public support the priorities of the government. I'll sum that argument up for you. And a nameless Conservative spokesmodel said, it's important to see it in context. Yeah, that's right. The context is that the Tories can't build a railway line, they can't keep schools from falling down, they can't run a health system that sick people can rely on, they can't spend the vast sums of tax they get from us.
The little people.
Not leprechauns. They can't spend it without accidentally gifting huge amounts of it to the people that donate to their party. And they can't stop partying even when the rest of us are locked in under threat of prison. Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Bromley, hello, Joe.
Hello, mate. One simple question. It's quite fundamental. It'll probably cause furore, but let me ask you it anyway. If you're British, white and heterosexual in this country, are you at a disadvantage these days?
In what regard?
So many, obviously.
Well, like what?
You know, I know you're a clever man and you know exactly what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that what you're saying is true, other than just a general sense of grievance that your life hasn't gone the way you wanted it to.
No, not at all. I think there's an awful lot of evidence,
Well, give me one instance.
Sharia law.
Sharia law?
Sharia law in parts of the country. Britain.
There's no Sharia law in Britain.
Are you sure?
Yes, 100%. What else have you got? That you started with that, Joe, just means that you say that you don't know what you're talking about, and I was completely correct in every respect when I nailed you that you are just like a bag full of grievance in complaint of your life not turning out the way you wanted it to. So whose fault is that? Is it your fault? Hell no. Is it luck's fault? Well, yeah, it probably is. But luck is a difficult thing to blame, because what is it? Can't touch it, can't see it, can't sniff it. So it must be somebody else's fault, an identifiable minority. Yeah, that's right. Straight white men are those that are getting a hard deal in this country. Right. I think you missed out rich. When will straight white rich men ever get a break? You're right, Joe. Oxford, Leslie.
Hello.
Leslie.
Hello. My ears pricked up when you were talking about 15-minute cities.
Yes.
So I'm based in Oxford, okay, and I've seen the council trash our cities.
Trashed Oxford?
Yeah.
I think not.
With their LTNs that they put in.
Yeah. Isn't that awful? Like less traffic? I know. Because that's what people want the most is like queues of traffic outside their house. Yeah.
But what they've done is put LTNs practically everywhere. So like a 10-minute journey takes 20 minutes.
Oh no, 20 minutes? Another 10 minutes on your busy schedule, Leslie. What will you do?
So that's my first point.
Okay.
They've doubled everybody's journey. So everything...
Yeah, but that's not the only result of that policy, though, is it? They have created car-free zones.
Yes, but it doesn't work like that because
all the
traffic... Absolutely not. Because all the traffic that has been sort of
clogging up side streets is now on main roads. Right.
Which is a complete disgrace.
But no, it isn't a disgrace at all. All of those people that are living car-free lives now, who can open their windows without fumes pouring in, who don't have the constant noise of cars backed up down their road, they think it's fantastic. You know, the people that whine about any car measure, the government calls them anti-car, the war on cars. What people seem to forget, incredibly to me, is that you don't live in your car. You go to where you're going, and then you get out, and you become a pedestrian. These aren't anti-car measures, they're pro-people measures. And the amount of whining about the 20 miles an hour, I mean, God, I'll sum it up for you. That is all I'm hearing. When there's less cars, it's a more pleasant environment. And people are complaining about a more pleasant environment. I think maybe we need a do-over, like a planetary do-over. Perhaps climate change is actually a good thing. Maybe the extermination of the entire human race, and then we could start again. What do you say? Think about it, at least. Liverpool, Simon.
Hi.
Simon.
Yeah, you were talking about the people, the leaders of the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
And we don't vote for leaders.
How do you mean?
Well, we don't vote for the Prime Minister, we vote for a party.
Well, people, when they go to put their cross in a plywood booth, they have the leader of that party in mind.
They do,
Yeah.
but they also vote for the manifesto that party has put forward.
No, I don't believe that. People don't read the manifestos. Even the people who write the manifestos don't read the manifestos.
I agree, but they also vote for the highlights that party put forward.
No, they vote for the person in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
At all.
When people voted Tory last time we were allowed, they voted for Boris Johnson.
100% agree.
Well, that's what I just said. Then you disagree with me.
If you're talking about Boris Johnson, I 100% agree.
Right.
They voted for a person.
Yeah.
That's the only leader I can think of in the last 15 years that they voted for.
15? Well, that's a very specific number.
Well, I plucked it out of the ether.
Right. Well, how about Tony Blair?
Cameron, well, he's not. Yes, I agree.
Right.
They voted for Tony Blair.
Right.
Cameron only got a coalition in his first seat. Name the next Tory leader.
Name the next Tory leader. Well, it was poor Mrs. M with her comedy clown shoes.
And she got almost voted out. Name the next Tory leader.
Well, this is like a test, Simon.
No.
When people go and vote, they vote for whoever is leading the party. That's their number one choice. It's their second. It might be just that they always vote for a political party. They always have done, and then no one is ever going to change their mind. They're going to vote Tory because they've always voted Tory or Labour or the Greenies.
Yowza.
Or whoever it might be. But mostly they vote for the leader of the party. Now, I know that technically they don't do that. They vote for their local representative. But I bet that no one, I'll rephrase that, almost no one has any idea who their local representative is. And they'll never see them apart from on the telly. People vote for the leader of the party. You know that's true.
They vote for the party, not the leader.
Yeah, I know they do, but I don't see why we're arguing about this, Tony. I just threw you. You said they don't vote for the leader of the party. Then I threw two names at you, and you agreed with me that they did vote for those leaders. So I think I'll find myself completely correct in every respect. And you're just too annoying to talk to any further. Sorry about that, but the truth hurts. Kingbridge. Hello, John.
Oh, hello, Nick. Good evening. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Are you going to ask me a question, or do you want me to ask you a question?
Well, let me ask you a question. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Well, I just heard Rose be quite animated about what she's had to say about the whole thing. My question really is that nobody can really argue about the concept of trying to reduce carbon emissions and make the planet a safer place to live in. My question really is, I hear a lot of hyperbole and inaccurate statements on the radio system as well as others. My question really is, well, what's it expected to cost us? So what do you expect the average family to pay, either less or more, to reach net zero by 2050 with starting a programme from 2030 to 2035? I heard your expert on earlier this evening talking again in generalities about how difficult life can be for all of us, with the planet being as it is. But what do you really expect the cost to be for the average family so they can maybe make preparations for the adjustments in their lifestyle? That's my question. Yeah, Rose might have an answer to that. I just don't know.
But the other side of that is, would the costs be less to address the issue, or would they be more if we didn't?
Well, I don't know the answer to that one either, Nick. But
Well,
you keep saying quite a lot about
the Committee on Climate, the Committee on Climate Change does know the answer because they've looked into it. And I don't have time before this news break, but I'll give you what their conclusion was when I come out of it. But it's probably not going to ally with your views, John.
Well, you don't know what their views are. I'm just asking a simple question. What are the costs expected from us to succeed in the transition by the 2030 or 2035? What's the difference going to be so that people like me and others can have some expectation of what that cost is going to be? That's all I'm asking.
Right. Well, yeah, okay. But from the way that you're asking it, I'm assuming that you're against the push towards net zero. That's just an assumption on my part. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But the other side of that, there's no point in asking how much is it going to cost us to do that if you don't also ask how much is it going to cost us to not do that. Because to ask one question and not the other is an irrelevance. Heston, Isaac.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Oh, God. I was listening to LBC this morning and I just couldn't stop laughing, right? Okay. Then I went to sleep. What it was, apparently Michael Gove has been saying we should have more children. Have you heard that one?
Michael Gove wants to have more children?
No. No. He wants the people of Britain to have more children.
I see. He wants us to do it for him. Oh, right. I see.
Yeah,
why is that then? Because of an ageing population?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and, to boost population numbers. But anyway, I've got a name for his project. It's called...
now, wait a minute. Hang on. Just one moment. This isn't a listener with material, is it?
Yeah, I brought it up this morning.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. All right, go on. Lay it on us.
Yeah, it's called... Michael Gove's project scheme could be called Bonking for Britain, right? And the strap line could be do your duty for the country.
Right. Okay. Stand up for your country. Okay. Excellent work. Thanks a lot, Isaac. Let's Perth. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Nick. Yeah, Nick, could you answer me a question, please? If we achieve net zero, say 30 or 35, does that mean the air in the United Kingdom, we've done it? Our air is now clean, and no bad global emissions will enter the United Kingdom. That's what you're telling us, is it?
No, of course not. Clean air is not the issue. That's a side issue. We're talking about emissions.
Yeah. But that's net zero.
No, it isn't. You misunderstand what net zero means.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm not doing your homework for you, Mike. Israel, Netanya, Carolyn.
Hi, I want to say something, and I'll just say it very quickly. Your human rights lawyer was on for about 10 minutes. He never mentioned once the hostages. He never mentioned once the human rights of the hostages, who are my family. There's an autistic boy. Is he getting medicine? There's a woman with dementia. Are they getting anything? Are the Red Cross been in to check on them? Where are their human rights? I'm going to stop on the human rights right now, and I'm going to say about the electricity. Yeah, we've cut off their electricity. Yeah, we've cut off their gas and their water, but the Hamas have still got electricity. The Hamas are still firing rockets. The Hamas have still got water, and the Hamas have still got food.
Right, so the children then, by what you just said, the children and the women and the innocent men don't have water and electricity.
But the Hamas have.
Right, okay, but then that's the opposite of what you surely want.
Excuse me, please don't tell me they don't have. They have.
No, I'm not saying they don't have. I'm saying that if Hamas, as you suggest, have water and electricity, but the innocent citizens don't, then that's surely the opposite of what you want.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, I can't say it three times, Carolyn. Islington, hello, Adam. An ecstasy of fumbling. He's snoring. Well, he has been waiting a good long while, and I know it's pretty late. I think this is the same chap that fell asleep when he was on hold last time. Hey, Adam. Wake up. Time to go to bed. I'll try this one. That usually works. How about this? Absolutely nothing. It sounds like you need one of those anti-snore strips. Oh, it's painful. I can't listen to another single solitary second. Hey, Adam. Time's up. Bolton. Hello, Jimmy.
Hi there. Yeah, thanks for giving me the time to talk. I want to talk about the immigration and the integration of the people that are coming into the country. Now, I don't like painting everyone with the same brush, and certainly that's not the way to go about it. But I've had isolated incidents, and I can only judge people from the interactions I've had with them. So, I mean, a prime example would be, only a few days ago, I'm driving my BMW XM, and it's a brand new car. I've paid £160,000 for it, and there's a house of immigrants from I think it was Afghanistan, and they've approached me, and it's well known in my community because I've come out openly as being a bisexual Muslim. But it's something that's not accepted in Afghanistan, but they're not able to integrate with our values, and in the Western world we can accept things like that. When
you say we, that's not everybody. I mean, gay people do get a lot of grief still in this country, regardless of and it's not a particular type of person that will give them
I feel like we're very well accepted now, as whatever background we come from, whatever.
I'm not sure that's true. I mean, gay people get abuse in the street. They get attacked. I mean, try coming out on a football terrace, Jimmy, and see what happens. But I'm delighted about your new car. 160,000, you say? Why on earth would you tell me that? Golders Green. Hello, John.
Hi. That gentleman was very interesting, but respectfully, a lot of it's off the point of your initial discussion, which is what the Justice Secretary wants to do. I disagree with what the Justice Secretary wants to do because I think that the way to do it is not to have fewer people in prison, but to build more prisons. And what I would do is to recognise that a lot of our central London prisons are, as you say, Victoria, nothing works, leaking toilets and terrible conditions, which is not correct. I would sell them off, and I would use the funds to build clean, hygienic, modern prisons on cheaper land, effectively, and I'd build a lot more of them. And the way I would deal with reducing the reoffending rates is I would actually keep the prisoners in prison for longer. Now, I haven't said anything about rehabilitation because that wasn't the topic that you introduced.
Well, it's part of it. I mean, it's
not really.
Well, of course it is.
It is, but the Justice Secretary didn't say anything about rehabilitation. What he said was...
No, he did. He specifically talked about rehabilitation, that we have terrible levels of rehabilitation, particularly those who have short sentences.
I'm sorry, I missed that there. But what do you know? If we do what he says, Nick, what do you think it's going to do to the shoplifting crisis? Already you can nick 200 or 300 quid's worth of stuff without anything happening to you. And if people knew they weren't even going to go to jail, they'll just shoplift a bit more.
But nobody thinks about the consequences, or very precious few think about the consequences of their crime before they commit it, because they wouldn't commit the crime if they did. I beg to disagree with you slightly, Nick, because I think that if the message got through that if you are caught committing a crime I was going to say if we have more police, the chances of you getting caught would be higher, and if you get caught, it would still be dismally low.
You are going unless
we're going to have more police than there are people. It's still dismally low. Nobody who commits a crime thinks about the prospect of them being caught and serving time for that crime. Otherwise, they wouldn't commit it in the first place. The threat of jail won't stop people committing crime. I mean, America, in many states, has the death penalty for murder, but it doesn't stop people murdering each other. I don't get your. I don't get the logic of what you're saying, John. The answer to this country putting more people in prison than any other country in Western Europe is surely not to put even more people in prison, because if at first it doesn't succeed, continuing to do the same thing over and over again is surely not a route to success. Dagenham, Joshua.
Hello, mate.
Joshua.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is definitely a war against drivers. That one, to be honest. With Rishi trying and get himself into the election and winning it based on the war against drivers. I'll give an example. Sadiq Khan. This week he's come out saying about how he's going to charge drivers a toll fee just to use the Blackwall Tunnel.
They already have a toll on the Blackwall Tunnel.
No, they don't. They don't have a toll. You're talking about the Dartford crossing.
Oh, the Dartford crossing, yeah.
But because they're building a tunnel, Silvertown, to ease the congestion at Blackwall Tunnel,
yeah,
they're adding a toll. What's the need for that? Number one, you have the U-list. You have in London majority now. If you go to places like Hackney, Streatham,
yeah,
you have these useless
moaning and I feel the life just draining out of me, Joshua. It is. It's just so painful. What is it? What is it that you want?
What do you mean? These LTNs are useless. I mean, think about it.
The LTNs are useless. What on earth does that mean?
So the London traffic neighbourhoods.
Yeah.
So for example,
no, I know what they stand for. I'm asking why are they useless? I mean, not that I'm really.
Okay. If you want to go through a street, you can't go through there, so you have to.
Okay. And how marvellous that is for the people who live on that street.
Not particularly.
Well, yeah, particularly because they don't have queues of traffic outside their front window.
But it causes more congestion on another street. I do understand that. Oh yeah, fair enough. On the roads where schools are, that's understandable. But
right.
Come on.
You know, people like you were complaining just the other day about the council that had put bollards up on the pavement near schools because people were driving on the pavement to get around the jams caused by parents driving their kids to school. And people were complaining about the council stopping people driving on the pavement as part of the war on motorists. I can't hear any more of it, Joshua. I just can't. It's excruciating. So there was the front page of the Daily Mail. God, the Daily Mail today gave me enough material to last till the end of the year. I lost count of the amount of ways in which they got things wrong. Poll shows Rishi a path to victory, it screams on the front page. Liar! And that is completely incorrect in every respect. And they print a poll over a double-page spread and then they try to illuminate that poll for us. And every single thing they said about it was wrong. Rishi's path to election victory. Mail poll shows voters want tax cuts so they can keep more of their money during a cost of living crisis, and which is completely wrong. Not true. It's as though they printed the poll after they'd written the story and just assumed that what they wanted to be true would actually come to pass when they asked people what they thought. Rishi Sunak's path to election victory is today spelt out by voters who back his green gamble and the Rwanda plan. On the eve of the Conservative Party conference, an exclusive poll for the Daily Mail finds the public support his bold policies that create clear blue water with Labour. No, they don't create anything of the sort. But voters urge him to let them keep more of their money through tax cuts, it says, as the cost of living emerged as the key battleground ahead of the looming general election. You know, the two are not the same. Tax cuts benefit you more the more you earn. Those on average to low wages depend more on the things that taxation can provide, more than the few quid that a tax cut will bring them. I mean, that's the big lie about tax cuts, that they bring happiness. Happiness. They don't, unless you're earning a fortune. What brings happiness is what taxation can provide. A reliable health service, for instance. Law and order, community resources, childcare, youth clubs, sports facilities. You know, the things a decent society can afford by pooling their funds. rather than the winner-takes-all approach beloved of the rich, who don't need any of that stuff. The Mail says the electorate trusts Mr Sunak over Keir Starmer to reduce the debt. Liar! No, it doesn't. The poll they print as part of this story actually says, who do you trust most to grow the economy? And the public say Starmer, not Sunak. I mean, it's not rewriting history, it's rewriting the present. Why print the results of the poll and then write a story around it that says the opposite of what the poll says? It says they back the PM's U-turn on green plans. No, they don't. The fifth most important issue, which will determine how they vote, is green issues. Housing, crime, jobs, the environment comes fifth. They don't back the PM's U-turn on green plans. They are more concerned about other things. The Mail says the Survation poll found that half of the public supported the government's decision to delay some of its targets to reach net zero to help household finances, with just 36% opposed. Sunak said that he would delay a ban on sales of new petrol and diesel vehicles from 2030 to 2035, and he slowed down plans to prohibit new gas boilers. While he faced a backlash from some in his party, the Mail poll suggests it could help him to an election victory. It doesn't. I mean, first off, people don't know what the plans for reaching net zero are because the government don't know what they are. They keep saying that their target remains unchanged of reaching net zero by 2050, but it's a completely meaningless statement because this lot won't be anywhere near power by 2050, and there's no actual plan in place to get there. It's just a wish. I mean, it's like asking the public if they think the government should delay plans for humans being able to fly. They haven't got a plan for that either. And here's the biggie. The Tories and the press are desperate for tax cuts because the millionaires on the Tory benches and the billionaires that run the press hate taxes more than anything else on earth. And they think that we must do too because they don't know anyone that is not like them. But we don't. Even when prompted, more people say that we are paying the right amount of tax. 37% said the level of taxes in the UK should be cut. 38% said the level should be maintained. But you know what? I bet that 100% think that taxes should be spent more in the interests of the people rather than the interests of the donor class. But they didn't ask people about that. And then the Mail says last night MPs welcomed the findings of the poll but urged Sunak and Chancellor Jeremy Hunt to heed the calls and bring down taxes this autumn. I mean, did the writers read what they had just written? They wrote that the majority say that taxes are at the right level, and in the very next sentence they said that people think that taxes should be cut. Am I losing my mind? Is this real life or am I hallucinating? Former leader Ian Duncan Smith says it showed Sunak was at his best when he was Conservative. Ian Duncan Smith. I mean, is that the same Ian Duncan Smith that backed Liz Truss to be our Prime Minister?
Absolutely.
How did that work out?
Oh, fabulous.
And former Minister Sir John Hayes, who chairs the Common Sense Group, said that the poll should form the template of the party's election manifesto, the Common Sense Group. Yeah, here's the minutes from their last meeting. Despite voters believing Sir Keir is more trustworthy and would make a better Prime Minister, on core issues the difference between the leaders was more marginal and only a couple of percentage points separating them on matters such as their perceived ability to halve inflation and grow the economy, says the Mail, which is called making a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Sunak lost on growing the economy and halving inflation to Keir Starmer. He lost on trustworthiness. He lost on how they're running their own parties. He lost on who would make the best Prime Minister, which is usually biased towards the person who is actually doing that job at the time. And he still lost. The fact that the Mail is trying to paint this as a win just shows how desperate the times are for the Tories and their press enablers. And we've got a weird little man for a leader that none of us voted for. All bouncy like Tigger with the sad eyes of Eeyore, trying to spin lies and misdirection and mendacity to cling on to a job that he's terrible at, while strip-mining the nation of its wealth and blaming the last 13 years of Tory failure on everyone except the Tories themselves. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Orpington. Hello, Luke.
Hi there. Good evening.
Hello there.
Yeah, hello there. So for me, I thought I'd give it a chance. I've listened to some of the key speeches, especially the Prime Minister's.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed. I was impressed. I must say, I haven't voted Conservatives for some years, and I used to vote Tony Blair, believe it or not, at some point. But I wanted to give him a chance, and I'll be honest, I was coming up with all sorts of things. I was thinking, well, finally, common sense. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I don't agree with all of it, but I agree with most of it. And I was thinking, boy, if they implement HOT, then fantastic. I mean, instead of the H2O, what it's called, HS2, instead of that going across and then up, they're saying, like, hundreds of projects up north. I think, well, all over, to be honest, but that's surely better, isn't it? I mean, getting rid of 20 miles speed limit, fantastic. I'm all for that. Getting rid of that.
Why? The amount of people that have been whining about the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, oh, for crying out loud, will you stop moaning, people?
Okay, fine. But I just say, I think it's a good little thing, it's a good little add-on, it's not amazing. But look, what did we need? We had a few years of instability, leaders coming in and out, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then we want a bit of stability, we've got that through in 1 year so far. I think another year of stability, plus them change some ideas. Look, it's come up with ideas.
Stability, define stability under Rishi Sunak. What has become more stable?
The Prime Minister's been there for a year from the start.
Well, that is true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he lasted longer than a lettuce. That is true.
But I want a stable economy. One, it's good for business. Yes, they could have talked more about this.
And you think that's what we have under the Conservative administration?
I know it's a bit of a joke, but in seriousness, the economy is growing quite well, considering
the economy is growing quite well compared to France, Germany, etc. Well, that's completely untrue. It does not have the benefit of being true.
The other thing,
but apart from that,
I don't know what your feelings are towards this the climate change sort of thing. So I'm all for pushing it back 5 years. I mean, too much about that stuff. I'm all for looking after the planet in various ways, but not charging everyone X amount who can't afford it and those who can.
Charging everybody a totally made-up figure that they just pulled out of their ears, to pretend it's actually a thing. Yeah, every person in this country is going to have to spend £15,000 on meeting net zero. It's a complete lie. No such figure is even close to being true.
And if the climate does go up 1.5 degrees, I'm actually for that. It's quite nice for us.
Right. Oh, I see. So is this a listener with material?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what that is, Luke. Just trying to get a rise out of me. But I am calm and serene. There's nothing that you can say that is going to be more offensive than what I've heard coming out of the TV this week, Luke. Try as you might. Now, be off with you. Edinburgh, Martin.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Martin.
I think the Conservatives may well win the next election. I think you look at, low unemployment, low crime, equality laws. I think a lot of people are going to be.
Low crime?
Yeah, crime has been going down since 2010, actually.
Well, crime has been going down for a lot longer than that.
It's been going down since the 1990s, but it's continued to go down since 2010. And
but you could say that it's gone down, or you could say that we have a chronic failure of catching criminals. Now, the two may be connected.
They may be, but, the Conservatives have passed the Offensive Weapons Act. And
well, you can pass any kind of act you like. You have to back it up with actual police persons on the street catching crims. And there's precious few of that about.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in prisons and in mental health hospitals, and one of the biggest drivers of crime is really drug use. And so I think...
Well, one of the biggest drivers of problematic drug use is poverty. And, and that has definitely gone up since the Tories took over, no doubt about that. So you're completely correct.
Well, yeah, I mean, I work in a mental health hospital, so when I see drug use, it doesn't always correlate with wealth. I think you do need to get tough on drugs if you want to keep crime rates as low as possible.
Martin, they have been tough on drugs. They've been tough on the causes of drugs and tough on people taking drugs and tough on people selling drugs. And it don't make no never mind. People have always taken drugs and they always will take drugs. If your position is that we can win the war on drugs, then you've lost before you've started.
Well, I mean, look at East Asian countries, though. You know, look at South Korea.
Thailand.
No. Places like South Korea, Japan, they're very tough on drugs, but it works effectively there. You know, You're
telling me that no one takes drugs in those places? Please.
I'm saying the rate of drug use is incredibly low in those countries compared to, you know, the United States, which has been far more permissive on drugs.
Half of the people in American prisons are in jail for drug-related crime.
But if you look at places like the West Coast, like San Francisco, Portland, they've been really relaxed about drugs, and it's just led to an increase overall.
Well, I think people who take drugs tend to be attracted to places like San Francisco, so it might not, the causation might not be as you describe.
It may have an effect, but, you know, around the world, I think tough on drugs approaches do tend to work more often than they fail.
But they don't. They've failed in every country they've ever been tried, which is why some of the more intelligently run countries are reconsidering their position. We, on the other hand, in this country, are still of the stick opinion, like that. Yeah, it hasn't worked up to this point. Why would you assume that it would work post this point?
Well, I do think it has worked in the countries I've mentioned.
It hasn't, though, has it?
Well, is Japan a high crime society? Does Japan have a large amount of people taking drugs? I think it has worked effectively.
I don't know what the crime rate is in Japan, but it doesn't really make it doesn't make the slightest bit of difference. We're talking about chalk and cheese here.
Well, we're all human, I think.
I mean, is Portugal a high crime country?
The crime rate in Portugal is higher than the East Asian nations. But
we're not comparing ourselves to East Asia. Well, let's talk about Europe. Let's talk about countries that are more like ours, societies and people that are more akin to ourselves. Is the crime rate in Portugal higher than it is here?
I'd have to look at the details.
Right, so I'm going to go ahead and assume no, because we have we incarcerate more people in this country than I think any other Western European nation, apart from, I think, weirdly, Luxembourg, which is such a small and bizarre place, and I know of which I speak because I lived there for 6 months, that it's not really any basis for comparison. But we are tough on drugs, tougher on drugs than pretty much any other Western European country, and yet our crime rate is higher, Martin. So it's the inverse of everything that you're suggesting. Better luck next time. Wembley, John.
Yeah, thank you for bringing me in. Basically, I've listened to a lot of comments that is coming in. First of all, we need to talk about the children that are being kidnapped. That's supposed to be the topic, telling Hamas to release these people because they are not the one fighting with them. If I have anything to do with you, it's supposed not to affect my children. And those people there, many of them are not Israeli. Why must Hamas kidnap those people, slaughter them like animals? It is not acceptable.
But surely the killing of people isn't acceptable, full stop. But it's happening on both sides.
Yeah, but who's the consequence of Hamas action is what they are receiving. That is the consequence.
Well,
there is nobody, there is no parent.
Yeah, but again, we're picking dates, aren't we? You could say the consequence is differentiated by whichever date you pick to start from. I don't think it helps. Lewisham, hello, Jane.
Hello, Nick.
Hello, Jane.
What we need is precision politics, and you're only going to get that with the motoringparty.co.uk.
Okay, that's very interesting to hear that, Jane. Please tell me more. Sidcup, hello, Malcolm.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I've got a simple thing. UK government or government UK.com. CON.
Right. What's that?
UK government.com. CON.
Yes, CON. Con, yeah.
Yes.
But what is it that you're saying?
Well, basically, it's all a con. So change the website, whatever. It's not .com, it's .con.
.con, right.
Yeah, they're conning the public, the taxpayer.
And you're recommending that the Tories change their website?
I recommend the government change the website.
Its own website to illuminate the fact, or illuminate the notion that they are conning us.
Yes.
Right. Okay, well, I'll pass that suggestion on, Malcolm. I'm not sure that they'll be rushing to take that up. I'm not sure they'll be too eager to adopt that, but we can but try. Guildford, Ray.
Hello, hi, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, so just first of all, I've got my own point to make, but just to hear what the lady just said is absolutely astonishing that she considers that we now have social media openly available throughout the world. But what she was claiming that is happening with the Israelis, with children being murdered and innocent people being slaughtered, which it is. That is absolutely wrong and abhorrent. It is happening and it is wrong. But we can see on social media that that is what the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, are actually doing to the Palestinians. And there is multiple records of actual video evidence, photographic evidence of them using children as shields, them tying children up, them blindfolding kids. There's a case of Manasra, one of the Palestinian children who was arrested at the age of 13 for throwing a stone, and for 13 years he's been in jail. 6 of those in solitary. How are you going to say that this force, this government that is in place in Israel is fair and just? It is completely not. And what's happening right now, what Hamas are doing is absolutely wrong. I totally agree. You know, there's no... I'm not Palestinian, by the way, and it's completely wrong that any innocent person should die. I'm completely against any innocent person dying. However, you have to drag back and look at what is causing this. Right.
So over and above these sort of tit-for-tat killings, what is causing it?
So you have to go back to, first of all, the initial point of when Israel was created, fine, there was a group of Palestinians, they were removed out of their area, and this land was given to the Jews that were fleeing Europe at the time after World War II. You've removed a group of people out of the area, there's going to be a bit of argument, just like it was and still is going on, for example, in Pakistan and India over Kashmir, right? These issues happen. 1967 war, Israel fought multiple Arab nations. Those that they attacked Israel, they defended themselves, understandable. They won back some land. Now, what the Palestinians, if you speak to actual Palestinians, I have a few Palestinian friends, genuine Palestinians want peace probably more than the Israelis. What they want is to have their human rights to be acknowledged, for them to be treated as human. But when you are forced like animals into cages to be able to go to school, when you're forced like animals to be able to take your child who needs cancer treatment to go from one side of the West Bank to the other, and you're blocking them for 6 hours, when you are pushing a group of people again and again against the wall, you keep slapping them on their face. And when they raise their hand to hold your hand to stop slapping them, you then turn around and cry that you've been abused. Absolutely incorrect. Absolutely wrong. What's happening right now is, like a lot of people have said, is unfortunately Israel's own fault. When you keep poking someone, when you have taken everything away from them, what do they have left to live for?
All right. Okay. Thanks, Roy. Finchley, Yolanda.
Hello there.
Yolanda.
I really am dumbstruck. I really don't know what to say. There's no words for it. Last Saturday, children, babies, were burnt alive in front of their parents, but their parents were then shot. We've got hostage children who are hostages still in Gaza. In 2005, We handed Gaza, or Israel, sorry, over on the silver platter. There was no occupation, no Israeli presence, nothing. It was 100% theirs. And your previous caller was right. 95% of Palestinians voted for Hamas. And they had the charter then. And the in their charter, which is still today, you can read it, says it wants the extermination not just of Israel, but of Jews. If they wanted anything other than dead Jews, they had the chance. In what world is it normal to demand a country provide water and electricity? And they've got that, by the way, now, but to its enemies. Did we do that in Nazi Germany? Did Britain provide water and electricity to the Nazis?
We don't have to always go back into history. Let's concentrate on what's happening now.
We're not going back in history. But when there is clear evidence that they're using water pipes, and you know that in aid, it's around $1 billion a year that Gaza gets in aid.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's just talk about the consequence of turning off the water then, as you brought it up.
It's not.
What do 2 million people do if they're trapped and they have no food or water?
Well, they have food and water. It's all on.
But not to my knowledge, they don't. Neither do they have electricity. It's there's extremes on both sides and barely anything in between. Streatham, hello, Jason.
Oh, hi. I didn't think I'd be on so quickly. I'm just making my cup of coffee. But anyway, I'll leave that for a moment. Lovely to speak. What a great show. Shall I get my points over quick?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, great conversation. Secondly, I was sort of born in a shop, so I had 18 years. My dad had a business, so I was sort of involved in that business, selling sledges and stuff. So I'd be saying, about 8 years old, anybody want to buy a sledge? Anybody want to buy a sledge? And
a sledge? A sledge shop? That doesn't sound likely, but good effort. Better luck next time. Chelsea, hello, Mark.
Hello, hi. Without doubt, something will happen in this increasingly God-forsaken theatre, as experts refer to this stuff. And I think everybody can imagine it won't be pretty. I hope nobody can imagine it or dream or have nightmares. We are removed by some distance, but unfortunately, as we have seen in the past, this stuff plays out in London, in England, and the West, and the security of the United Kingdom should, I assume, be the most important thing for the government and the people of the United Kingdom. We had London Bridge 7-7. In the words of General Lord Dannatt, then Chief of the British Army, without doubt, I'm quoting, without doubt 7-7 would not have happened if we hadn't gone into Iraq. Curiously, United Nations peacekeeping forces have not even been mentioned, and because it's a fantasy. The superior side has no reason or advantage to allow it and won't allow this. So we will see something bad, following something bad, and each side that is supported has phoned here day after day and made their case. That seems to be irrelevant. We now need to make sure that we are safe. But the other concern is the billions given annually. I'm not saying they shouldn't be, perhaps more. That wonderful statesman, Zach Goldsmith, said he wanted to cut out foreign aid. And my immediate response was, does he mean Israel? Because it is billions. But it's not the problem. Give more. But these billions are useless. Look at how much security the nuclear bomb that they have, the billions in hardware and cash provided for their security. Perhaps they need more. I'm not saying either side is wrong. I'm just saying the whole model is very broken. So much so that we here have to be very frightened because supporters, whether it's morally or religiously or ethnically with association, lone wolves on the far right, have been tooling up and caught recently. this is not a joke, something that you can take sides on from a safe spot like a football game anymore.
Right. I've got to leave it there, Mark. I'm running out of time. Let's have Edinburgh. Martin.
Oh, hi, Nick. I think if Labour get in, then what we're going to see is a real demise in education with this whole VAT on private schools issue.
A demise? What do you mean, demise?
Well, it means when ultimately standards slip, because what they're going to do is put VAT on private schools, and we're going to see a lot of people
will slip.
Yeah, I mean they'll be putting VAT on private schools.
Yeah.
That means ultimately you're going to see a lot of people leaving the private sector and going into the state sector.
Yeah,
and it's going to cost the taxpayer a huge amount of money, as you see people having to.
You know what will actually happen if a lot of middle class people have to take their kids and MPs, if they have to take their kids out of private school and put them in state school. The quality of state schools will improve dramatically. They will insist upon it.
But is there any evidence, though, to back up these claims? I mean, if you look at the schools...
it's called human nature. If they are putting their own kids in a place, then they will want the best for their kids. If they can't afford the 45 grand or whatever it is per year to put them in private schools, then they're going to have to rely on the state system. And then those middle-class people will insist on better schools.
Well, I mean, if we look at countries that have sort of gone after... freedom in academic education hasn't really worked. It's always backfired.
What do you mean,
on them.
freedom?
Freedom to decide where you send your kids to educate, to where you send
Name
your kids
the
to
country
school.
that such a thing has backfired on them.
I don't see any evidence that it's been effective in any nation.
Hang on a minute,
If you look at the US.
back up. You said when countries decide, and I don't really even know what you meant by that. Where's the evidence of what you just said?
You look
other
at the
countries.
US and how you look at the United States, where there's been this attack on academic freedom, and it's never really worked. There's
what do you mean by academic freedom?
The freedom to decide where you send your kids to school.
In the US, you are not allowed to decide where you send your kids to school. What are you talking about?
You have policies around the world that have various degrees of freedom, and if we look at countries which allow schools to compete with each other, which have a more neoliberal approach, it always leads to better outcomes.
Name the country that is true of.
Probably Singapore.
Probably.
I would say Singapore. You could also look at other East Asian countries which do very well on PISA.
You're just guessing, aren't you?
No, I'm looking at the PISA rankings.
The PISA rankings. Well, the PISA rankings for which students perform best on maths and arithmetic.
Exactly.
Yeah, Singapore is an island state. You can't really compare Singapore to Great Britain.
Singapore is a large, developed country.
Singapore is like comparing London with the rest of the country. If you want to compare London and Singapore, or New York and Singapore, then that would be a relevant comparison. But you can't compare Singapore to any other country because it's not really a country. It's just, it's a port with a banking racket attached. Good grief. I should have hit pause when he said neoliberal. Yeah, another one of these. If we make private schools more expensive and middle-class people, upper middle-class people, have to take their kids out and put them in state schools, then they will demand that those schools improve. That is absolutely true. There's no question about that. And why are we, poor dopes who pay taxes, subsidising the rich to put their kids through a school that is just going to entrench their advantage in life? We must be out of our minds. I mean, talk about mugs. Lewisham, Marilyn.
Oh, is that Nick?
Yes, Marilyn.
I'm sorry, I didn't expect to be put through to you. I was waiting for the guy to come back to me. I was making a comment about the integration of foreigners in this country.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just saying to your guy, I didn't get to finish, that I've got a family next door to me, 7 Afghans, because she's just keeps having babies. Now, they are sweet. We've got no problem at all. No problem at all. But when they moved in, and I said to the husband I would help the mother with her English, he just said, no, she don't want to learn. She don't want to. And several years later, she still doesn't speak English.
Right, well, that's not good.
No, but the thing is, there's a lot of talk about integration and everything else, and I live in an extremely diverse area of London. I've got no problem with any of it. But it's not one-sided, Nick, you know? It's not all about us. I say they, I'm talking about people who come here.
Well, you're talking specifically about the person next door. You can't extrapolate from the person next door to all of them.
In summer months, when you go to park up the road, which is very close to us, they all congregate.
They all.
The Muslims congregate.
Right,
They're quite.
You know what happens when you know what I see when I go to Kew Gardens? They all congregate too, and it's white middle class people. Should they integrate more with working class people?
I don't know.
Right, okay.
I don't know. I just feel, you know, having travelled, if I go to another country, I try to speak the language.
That's you and you alone there, Marilyn, because I bet if an expat who lives in Spain called me up, or who lives in the south of France, gave me a ring right now, I would bet every penny I've got on me that they don't speak Spanish or French. People don't integrate. People group around those who are just like them. It's just human nature. But to your first point, you absolutely should be impelled to learn English if you live here for your own benefit, apart from anything else. So, yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. Right, Fishy Sunak's speech at the Conservative Party conference. Shall we do that? Do you want to relive every moment of it?
No.
Fishy Sunak's speech at the Conservative Party conference fell flat with the British people. And it crowned an entire event of goofballs and nut jobs and what looked like the casting call for a remake of Night of the Living Dead. An event that had turned Manchester into a militarised zone so as to keep away all the members of the public who would have liked to cheer their support. I mean, there's only so much praise the Conservative Party can take without getting embarrassed. There was the sight of Liz Truss, the Looby-Loo of the lunatic fringe of the right wing party, about as empty-headed as a Halloween pumpkin and twice as scary. You might think, why would anybody in their right mind want to listen to her? And then you remember that this was the Tory party conference. There wasn't anyone there in their right mind.
Absolutely.
And we had Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, explaining to us that inflation going down a bit was putting money into people's pockets. Which means that either he's as stupid as his eyes are wide, or he thinks you are. Why are his eyes that wide, by the way? I mean, he looks like he's being forever goosed. He looks like someone who's just got their sight restored after being blind their entire life and can't believe what he's seeing. Maybe he had a cut-price facelift in Turkey. You want to get a refund on that one, mate? And there was Penny Bloomin' Mordaunt. What the hell was that about? Stand and fight, she said about 10,000 times, as though she'd forgotten the rest of her speech, but thought that if she strode around like she was launching an invasion of her own stage, with her finger in the air like Mussolini, then the hall would erupt and every old geezer in there would have a patriot-gasm you could see from space. We will stand and we will fight. Some of us will have a bit of trouble standing unaided. Members will want to assist those that are having difficulty reaching an upright position, but when we're all up, we will fight. Unless we've forgotten why we got up in the first place, in which case, forget it. And the constant sucking up, or maybe it was advertising to some pretend news channel propaganda vehicle for the employment of Looney Tunes end of the crazy gang that are somehow still running this country. Mentioning no names.
My view...
Oh, save it for the telly, smug. The whole thing was about as old and musty as a cheese shop. And the snake oil salesman who seems to have used all the oil he has on his hair was supposed to be the clown in glory. And it went about as well as anything else he's done as our unelected leader. I mean, during his speech, the slippery fishy confirmed his decision to scrap the northern leg of HS2 between Birmingham and Manchester, which is odd, because he'd spent the preceding 2 weeks saying that no decision had been made on HS2. But he'd already filmed one of his toe-curlingly embarrassing videos explaining that the thing he said he hadn't decided on, he'd already decided on. You know, like a man of integrity would.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability.
Every level.
At every level.
Polling suggested the speech went down poorly with the public. They were asked, how would you rate Sunak's speech at the end of the Tory party conference? Very poor, 18%. Excellent, 4%.
What?
4. Best of all, didn't watch, 61%. 61% of us did not watch it. Absolutely no one cares, Fishy. They just want you to call an election, which is the very thing he said we didn't want. He actually had the nerve to say that. No one wants an election, he said. Liar! He said, I go out and about every day and that's not what anyone wants. Is that true?
No.
He said what everyone wants is politicians to make a difference to their lives. Well, it depends. I mean, what everyone wants is a health service that actually promotes health, schools that aren't falling down, police that show up when you need them, and an economy that works for all of us, not just friends and donors of the Conservative Party. And how's all that going?
Oh, fabulous.
Asked to rate how well Sunak was doing in his job as Prime Minister, the majority opinion was 18% said badly, 48% said neither good nor bad. No, wait. 18% said badly, 48% said neither, and don't know said 13%. Does that add to 100%? No, I've got it completely wrong. Shall I read it again?
No.
Here's what was asked. Sunak, doing a good job? People who said he was doing a good job amounted to 18%. People who thought he was doing badly amounted to 48%. Neither, 21%, and don't know, 13%. They hate you, Fishy Sunak. They hate your stupid little suits and your stupid skinny ties, and that way you have a bouncing in your chair like you're a toddler on Grandad's knee. And they hate your smirk and your tetchy little tantrums when you get asked something you don't like. And they hate the way that you lie and lie and lie. And the hair. Did I mention the hair? I mean, never mind about opening wells in the North Sea. I think we've found a source of oil that will last us into the next century. And when the public were asked about the Conservative Party itself, the most popular response was, how do you feel about the Conservative Party? 59% negative, 19% positive, and 22% said, 22% don't know. How can a fifth of the electorate still be undecided about whether they like the Tories or not? 13 years is not sufficient enough time to have reached a conclusion?
No.
Are they thinking, well, let's give them another 5 years and then we can really see what they're about, where their parties lie?
Under my leadership, the government's priorities are your priorities. The people's priorities.
God, that sounds super, Fishy. If only any of it was true. He is really bad at his job. 22% of the electorate are still undecided. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, come on. Make your mind up, sheeple. It's later than you think. And as for those who do express a preference, even the Tories can't stand the Tories these days. When asked who they would prefer to be a Tory leader, half of the members picked Sunak. In second place, it was Penny's Stand Up and Fight Mordaunt, Leader of the House of Commons, and recently voted most likely to do an impression of Mussolini if given the stage. And coming in at third place, a man who isn't even in the Conservative Party, but who seems to have performed a reverse takeover, none other than the seller of video birthday greetings and all-round stale egg, Nigel for bloomin' Raj.
I'm a nutcase.
He could be reabsorbed into the mothership, having been the navigator for what seems like an age now. You could be a Tory again, Nige. Any thoughts?
We've got a few idiots in our party.
A few? Bromley. Hello, Joe.
Hello, mate. Hi, Nick. I hope you're well.
Yes, good, thanks.
Fundamentally, the very fact is simple, isn't it? I mean, he's playing to the vote. He knows he's got another year-ish to go, and he's desperate. He's more Labourised than ever, and Labour are going to be more Toryfied than ever. This is the game we always play.
Hang on a minute. What do you mean that he is more Labour-fied than ever? What do you mean by that?
He's trying to pander to the working man. Well, he hasn't got a chance in hell, has he? I mean, with no disrespect to him, and I admire him for having achieved it. That's why we used to vote Tory, because we all wanted to get rich. He is very rich, very, very rich, and good luck to him. Having said that, we're not going to be that way, are we? I mean, look at the government that he presides over. He's got a Labour mayor of London who is crucifying people, literally.
No, I don't think that he's literally doing anything of the sort. But that is a vivid image you just painted for us there, Joe. If he was literally doing that, I think I would have heard that on the news. Let's have Dublin. Derek.
Nick, the little people.
Yeah.
So I have a slogan for you. It would be good on a T-shirt. It's really for Labour. Are you ready?
Go on.
Labour loves little people love Labour.
That's absolutely abysmal.
I know. It's the best I could do this hour of the morning.
Well, it's better than what they've got, but it's still terrible.
Well, I think it would work on a T-shirt. I'd buy it.
You'd buy it, right? Well, okay. I'll look out for you in a high street near me soon. All right.
Please do.
Thanks a lot, Derek. Hampstead, Benjamin.
Hi. I just returned from Tel Aviv through Cyprus, and I was there when the rockets occurred. And I've got a family member, unfortunately, on one of the kibbutz, who was a neighbour of the episode where two children were basically killed in front of their parents, and they were tortured in front of their parents, and then they shot the parents after. So we're dealing with such a, below... 80% of people that were killed were tortured before they were killed, and that's many kids. So, yeah, civilians are dying in Gaza through bombs, but it's usually unintentionally, and there is no reason why Israel, who is literally in war with Hamas, who just killed babies, should supply them with water, electricity, and anything else. I mean, they also have a border with Egypt. Why would Israel have to supply the enemy with power?
Yeah, but doesn't that argument sort of rest on all Palestinians are equally guilty? But that surely isn't true.
Well, it is, because 78% of them voted for Hamas. 98% of them agree on rocket attacks. So, actually, if you look at the reality, I know it's hard to digest, but the fact is they are guilty because they do agree with Hamas. They democratically elected them. I mean, the fact of they are pro-Hamas. Let's not pretend that...
Yeah, but at the time of the election, the what's just happened had not occurred. So
it's even more so now. They're even more indoctrinated. They've been under Hamas rule for the last 15 years.
Right, so your position is that it is...
The latest poll is...
It is bad to kill... I mean, I'm against killing, regardless, but your position is that it is bad to kill children on one side of a wall, but it is okay to kill children on another side of a wall.
Did the British bomb Dresden? Was there any issues there?
That's history. We're not talking about history now. Everybody did bad things if you just look back far enough. But is that the position that you've got?
War. We're trying to target Hamas. They're hiding around civilians. Should we just let Hamas keep killing us, or should we go and kill them? It's a simple thing. We're going to kill them.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Benjamin. Is that as clear as it is? Is that does it all sort of boil down to that they killed us, so we must kill all of them, regardless of whether they actually had anything to do with it? Yes, sorry to keep this caller waiting in Romford. It's called David. David.
Hello, sir.
Yes, David.
In my call, I love the debate, especially when it gets onto the political system, where PR is not really the main topic of conversation. Now, we really got a situation at the moment is overwhelming Labour majority. It's just dangerous as an overwhelming Conservative majority.
Not sure about that.
This is what it is. It is because you remember that.
You should have said that right at the beginning. Now everything is clear. It is. Oh well.
It is as dangerous. An overwhelming Labour majority is just as bad as an overwhelming Conservative majority.
I disagree.
I think the majority of your listeners will agree with that.
Well, I'm not sure that the majority of my listeners would agree with anything that you've said so far. What makes you so sure that they would?
Because I've been through elections. I'm in my 60s.
60 years old? Right, who isn't?
Oh, but the point is, you should know that you've seen how the British first pass system works.
Yeah.
You've seen how it works. It doesn't work for the long term.
Well, it depends.
It works for the short term.
It depends on who's in power.
Either of them doesn't make any difference.
Oh my God! You're not one. Wait a minute. You are not one of these. I know I'm off mic. I'm just trying to find something. You are not one of these people that says it doesn't make any difference which way you vote. Please tell me you're not one of those. You didn't just say that out loud. You just did not say that out loud. Are you insane? Are you kidding me right now?
We need proportional representation. You can't deny that.
Well, I can deny it, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't choose to deny it because and it pains me to say this. I agree with you on that one small point, but not anything else that you've said on this call so far.
Doesn't make you right.
Well,
because you're the one who's got the button.
It does. It does make me right.
Oh, just because you've got the button,
that's
it might
right.
make the callers feel that's right. But look,
it's my ball, and I'm taking it away with me.
But the point is, don't need an overwhelming Labour majority, and the majority of your callers are going to.
Oh, please stop saying that you're speaking for the majority of my callers or listeners or the people in this country. You're speaking for yourself. Stand up and be proud of your opinion, David. Don't hive it off onto other people. And I completely disagree. It very much depends on who is in charge. I mean, after 14 years of the Conservative Party being in charge, we've got, the things that we have to show for it are, they include... I have absolutely no idea. I can't think of one single solitary positive thing that they've achieved in 13 odd years. Can you? I mean, I have actually given this out I don't do topics, but I have actually given this out as a topic on a previous weekend, and 500k for chess. What does that mean?
They promised to spend some money on chess.
They promised to spend some money on chess.
Yeah, about 500 grand.
Right, is that
reasonable sized house?
In the form of a bet on black or white winning? Yeah, I've got no idea. But no, that is not a positive. I can't think of a single positive thing that they've managed to achieve in 13 years. They couldn't even build a railway, for crying out loud. But of some of the things that the Labour Party achieved, 3 million more NHS operations carried out every year, 44,000 more NHS doctors, 89,000 more NHS nurses, shortest waiting NHS time since records began, the guarantee to see an NHS cancer specialist within 2 weeks, 100 new NHS hospital building schemes completed, not 40 new hospitals told that we were going to fix and build, actually completed. 900,000 pensioners lifted out of poverty, 12 million pensioners receiving a winter fuel allowance, free TV licences for the over 75s, 20 million invested in bringing social housing to decent standards, 2/3 reduction in rough sleeping, 3,500 Sure Start children's centres opened, with 2.8 million children and families engaged, free nursery places for every 3 and 4-year-old. Shall I go on? I mean, I could, but I've only got a brief 3-hour show. Now, name me any single... I'll make it really simple for you. One single thing that they have achieved during the last 13 years of being in power. David?
Listen, I'm not talking about what Labour have achieved. We know what Labour can achieve.
Right, but that's not what you said. You said it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who is in power, and I disagree fundamentally. Of course, it matters. I mean, you go down that route, and you've got like the 2/3 of the people that couldn't be bothered to go out of the by-election this week. 2/3 of the people that could have expressed a preference decided not to bother. And it's just too dispiriting when people come on and say that it doesn't matter who's in charge, they're all the blooming same. I just can't hear it. I just won't hear it. But anyway, thanks for the effort, David. Appreciate it. It's too annoying. Riddell, hello, Victor.
Hi, yeah. It's the first time I tried to ring you, and funny enough, I got on. I'm 78 years old. My generation have had the best years, there's no question about that. Particularly if I had a reasonable job. I mean, I was a lecturer and in teaching and so forth. I've been in the Labour Party now for over 25 years and in the cooperative movement. I've been worried about the green agenda for years because, you see, to me, the problem is that it's all really well for these sort of well-paid politicians, even at the council level, to sort of pontificate and say, oh, yes, we've got to save the planet and everything else. The reality is, who pays? Who gets hurt the most? It's poor people. That's what really, really, really gets me. I believe in a caring society, but I don't think the Labour Party cares. They really don't care. They're bigoted in terms of the green agenda.
Hang on a minute. The Labour Party haven't been in power for the last 13 years.
Yes, agreed. But they've still got these policies of the green agenda. Nigel Lawson actually used in his email, the late Nigel Lawson, used an expression, it's a new religion. And it is. You cannot talk to these people. They're smug, they're arrogant, and they know best. Hang on a minute. Wait a minute. You're talking about climate scientists? Is that who you're talking about? No, I'm talking about politicians, particularly our career politicians.
Right, okay. So politicians who are taking the advice of climatologists and are suggesting that we are in a period of great concern as regards the state of our planet and our place on it, and you seem to be railing against that.
No, I'm not. All I'm saying is I agree that humankind has actually affected the climate change.
Right.
I'm not a climate change denier, but the point is how you reduce the problems, without hurting the poor people. I mean,
it's always the case. Unfortunately, it's always the case that the poorer you are, the more likely you are to get stuffed by any change in society or the economy. If you're rich, then you get a pass. I mean, that's just how society operates.
Well, you could say that, but I mean, to my mind, the green agenda really, really benefits the rich people. The better off. It's the poor people who are paying. People don't realise that, for instance, their electricity charges have gone up and up and up because of the green agenda.
No, but that's not true. Electricity prices. No, it isn't. It isn't. Electricity prices haven't gone up because of the green agenda. They've gone up by profiteering by the energy giants, by the invasion of Ukraine by Vladimir Putin, by the whole world waking up again from its COVID slumber. Those three things are much more important in the rising cost of energy than any green agenda.
Well, can I agree with you? Yes, I agree with you in terms of the Putin and the gas and everything else. I agree with that. But who has been paying for the offshore wind, for example?
Well, offshore wind is the cheapest way of creating electricity. It's cheaper than building nuclear power stations. It's cheaper than gas-powered generators. It's renewable. I don't really see what the problem is.
Well, all I'm saying is that people have been paying subsidies on their electricity bills to pay for that offshore wind.
Well, Victor, people have been paying subsidies to the oil giants to pull oil out of the ground. We give them more in subsidies than they pay in tax.
So what are you saying? Then you support just stop oil, then? Is that what you're saying? Because if you stop producing oil, could you imagine the catastrophic effect?
Yes, but just stop oil is not about stopping oil now. They're stopping new oil fields. They're not no one is suggesting that we stop using oil immediately. That's not what just stop oil is saying.
Well, that's a matter of opinion.
Well, it's not a matter of opinion. I'm telling you what their policy is. Nobody is suggesting that we immediately stop using oil. How could the world do that?
So, do you agree that ULEZ, for example, is actually going to hurt poor people more who have sort of older vehicles and been driven off the road, okay? And it's not a luxury for most people these days. Even the poor people, or the less well-off, as we call them, having a vehicle is not a luxury. In many cases, is a necessity. If you take a lot of sole traders, they're being pushed out of London. And then I went to a Labour Party conference 2 years ago, and there was a GLA councillor complaining about, we can't get a plumber, we can't get an electrician. Why? Because you're driving them out of the city. A lot of these sole traders, they don't have sort of like brand new, vehicles.
Well, what would you suggest then? How are we going to clean up our air? It's a law that has been instituted by the government that local councils have to clean up their air. How else would they do that?
Well, when you say cleaning up the air, do you know, for instance, in London, the WHO maximum limit is 10 micrograms per cubic metre. London is 13 cubic grams per metre.
Right, well, that sounds like a great success for ULEZ.
No, it wasn't for ULEZ. That's not true. 75% of pollution comes from outside of London. Then you take in the cost
Hang on. Whoa. 75% of pollution comes from outside of London.
Yes.
75% of pollution in London comes from outside of London.
That's correct.
I don't believe that is correct. Where would that pollution be coming from?
Well, I've researched this and everything else.
You're right. You're someone who has done their research. You sound like one of these people that stand by the side of the road. I saw them in a park yesterday, yelling at cars who were going by, trying to get them to honk in support, and they were getting absolutely no one who was going along with what they were saying. This it's actually quite painful. Yes, the poor will suffer if there's a charge for anything. That's just a function of money. But they will also suffer more if the air that they breathe is not clean. And those in poorer areas will have worse air. There's no question about that. So I don't know how you would clean up air without doing something about cleaning up the air. Would you just try to magic it clean? I honestly, Victor, I kind of despair at this attitude that nothing must change because some people may be inconvenienced. Let's have Bister. Hello, Phil. Phil?
Hello.
Yes, Phil.
Can you hear me?
No.
Oh, you can. It's amazing.
It sounds like you're talking from the bottom of a well, Phil.
Oh, is that better?
No.
Oh, hang on. Yeah. What about that?
No, same.
Oh.
Can you walk into the same room that the phone is in? Would be a good idea.
Hey, cool down. I'm blind. I can't see.
Right, but you know where the phone is. Yeah, because you dialed the number. Right. So get closer to the phone.
Oh. Look, a quick one. I wanted news about...
Go on.
I wanted news about the tree.
You want news about the tree?
You know, the one that was cut down at Adrian's Wall?
Oh, yeah.
They've arrested Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner?
Yeah.
Right, the actor. Kevin Costner.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because that tree was nominated for Best Actor.
It's a listener with material.
Oh,
no. Thanks a lot, Phil, for, whatever that was. South Kensington. Hello, Francis.
Yes, good evening. I'll just tell, a short story. Before the pandemic, I went to Tel Aviv with some friends for a couple of weeks. And one night, I met a young Israeli guy, and we got talking outside. And it will stick in my mind till the day I die. This young guy who had traveled around the world said to me, eventually, the pressure cooker is going to explode. How can you keep millions of people behind the wall under occupation? And this was an Israeli young man telling me about the barbaric, brutal treatment of the Palestinians under the Israeli government. And I said to him, what do you think will happen? He said, eventually, these people would get to a point where they have nothing to lose and they will strike back. So when I saw the events happening a couple of days ago, nothing shocked me. And the tragedy of all of this is, even though a lot of civilians paid the ultimate and heavy and sad price, a lot of the world is not sympathetic with Israel. You know why? Because successive governments in Western countries have turned a blind eye on the barbaric behaviors of Netanyahu and his right-wing government. I never thought I would put right-wing in the same breath as a Jewish government. That's what makes me sad. Because of history, but you have a government that is basically, encourages the building of settlements, forcibly moving Palestinians off their land, breaking international law, and not a single international government has come down like a ton of bricks on the state of Israel and its government.
But how do you view what happened, though? How does... hang on one sec. How does the broadcasting of this brutality actually help the cause of the Palestinians?
No, but the sad thing is, the broadcasting has fallen on deaf ears internationally. You know why?
It certainly hasn't. We're talking about it now.
Well, we are talking about it now, but most people, and I'll tell you this, most people, you speak to a lot of people, they will tell you that Israel had this coming. Unfortunately, it saddens me. It really makes me sad that innocent civilians have been killed. But the sad truth of the matter is, when Western governments turn a blind eye and allow, a criminal murderous regime in Israel act with impunity, you cannot expect...
Right,
yes.
Okay, then this is what you... your suggestion is that this was inevitable because of the actions of the Israelis. Norwich, Les.
Yes, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Les.
Right, this is a good one. Have you got socks on, by the way?
Yes, of course.
Well, I'm going to blow them off. I am 79 years of age.
79 years old.
79, yeah. No more Goon Show stuff. You're not good enough at it. That was my favourite programme.
No more Goon Show stuff. I'm not very good at it. Okay, you know what? You should always leave the insults to the end, because you might not get to the end if you do the insults at the beginning. Orpington. Hello, Luke.
Hi, good evening. I largely agree with Victor. I think he made some very good points. I realise that some are misunderstood. He's trying to say that pollution blows across into London, just like London's pollution blows across into France and stuff, apparently. So we should do nothing. No, it's not a question of doing nothing. It's a question of how we do what we do.
Well, then what should we do?
Okay, well, the primary thing about what your question was, or that I was going to speak about, was actually about what Richard Sunak's saying, and is it a good idea or not? And to be honest, I'm not a steadfast voter. I used to vote Labour, done a bit floating, I suppose you could say. But what I'm hearing so far from the Conservatives sounds to make sense.
About what, though? Are we still talking about ULEZ, or are we talking about something else now?
Well, ULEZ is obviously terrible, absolutely. And the only good thing about that is that it would have said it can't. But obviously...
But it's not... Well, OK, first of all, it's not Sadiq Khan's idea. It was Boris Johnson's idea. And Grant Shapps, when he was transport... No, there's no about it. It was Boris Johnson's idea. Look it up. And Grant Shapps, when he was the Tory Transport Secretary, insisted on the extension of the ULEZ zone as a precondition for not subsidising, but keeping above water London transport.
Look, I'm all for clean air. I'm all for looking.
Well, how would you achieve it then, other than getting the dirtiest cars off the road?
But you need to understand. Naturally, cars are going to get cleaner and cleaner. Naturally, people are going to get electric cars, but to force
in the meantime, how many people are you prepared to see die because of the air that they breathe? I mean, approximately to the nearest 100.
The 20-mile zone, for example, I went through London last night. I spent longer looking at the speedo than the actual road. It's dangerous. Trying to make sure I didn't get any tickets.
Well, that's just you being a bad driver, Luke.
No, it's not. Everyone's doing the same because you're so close to the mark of 20 miles an hour. The difference between getting a ticket and not is really small. It's 22 miles an hour, you get a ticket. That's too tight when you're going with all the traffic. It's not.
Well, you could say the same for 30. You go also, 3 miles above 30 mile an hour, and you'll get a ticket. Same with 40s.
And my car was constantly in third gear, which is not environmentally friendly either. No, it's not good, and the bumps aren't great.
Again, it sounds like a bad driver, Luke.
No, to go 20 miles an hour.
You're 7 times more likely to die if you get hit by a car at 30 than you are at 20.
I realise that you're just to oppose everything I'm saying to make conversation, but I would like to...
No, Luke, you answer that. If you have... do you have children? Do you have a loved one?
Yes.
Right, OK. Would you prefer them to get hit by a car at 20 or 30, if such a thing would happen?
I prefer them invest in maybe crossing points so it's safe to do so.
No, that's not an answer to my question. People are going to get hit. Almost 30,000 people were either killed or seriously injured on our roads last year. If they were hit at 20, they would be 7 times more likely to survive than if they were hit at 30. Most car journeys are less than 5 miles. It's about 72% of the car journeys undertaken in this country are 5 miles or less. If you drive 5 miles at 30 miles an hour, it'll take you 10 minutes to get there. If you drive at 20 miles an hour, it'll take you 15 minutes to get there. Is your life so fantastically busy that you cannot afford to lose 5 minutes?
It's not 5 minutes, it's a long journey, and it's 1 a.m. in the morning. There's hardly anyone about in terms of that. It's just loads of cars driving home.
So is that a yes, then? You can't afford to lose 5 minutes from your busy schedule
5 minutes,
in order to potentially save the life of somebody that you or somebody else would strike in the road.
What about global warming, for example?
You're not prepared to answer any of the questions. You're just throwing nonsense at me and then refusing to answer a single solitary thing I'm asking. And these aren't difficult questions, Luke. It takes twice as long to stop your car at 30 as it does 20. Dorset, Bournemouth. Hello, Christine.
Oh, hello there. How are you?
Hello there. I am great, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, but
No, that doesn't sound like you're doing okay.
Why?
Because just the way you said it, you said doing okay. That doesn't sound like you're doing okay.
No, just listening to your show, and it's like
dreadful.
No, listen, don't do any bloopers or anything on me, but you know,
thinking of doing some bloopers.
Yeah, like whatever you do. Whoa. But what I'm trying to say is that
what are you trying to say?
Okay, I'll get my point across. Is that the last few years have been like really difficult for lots and lots of people, and the like with the Ukraine, and also now like with the
everything,
everything.
With the everything.
And I've tuned off to it all, actually.
Yeah, I know how you feel. You just think, oh, I can't stand it anymore. I just want to tune out and do something more pleasant with my life.
No, so like living down here on the coast, it's easy because, like, you can just, well, it's not easy for everybody, but you can just, like, turn the radio off.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Go down and have a walk on the beach. But I would have to say,
what I've done,
don't go anywhere near the water.
and also, like, I tuned into you tonight because I'm up late because I've got a hospital appointment tomorrow, but don't worry about that. But I was just
Blimey, how did you manage to get yourself a hospital appointment? That's like gold dust.
Oh, God almighty, I'm a queen bee.
I don't know what that means.
A queen bee.
You're a queen bee.
Oh, listen, people
is that what the appointment is about? You've changed species.
They're extracting honey from me.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we'd better draw a veil over that.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that I've noticed, like, over the last number of years, like, living in a lovely place like I do, but just how angry people are getting.
Yeah.
And, like, I just listened to you and, like, the politics. Do you know what? We should, get rid of politics because it doesn't matter who is in the chair.
No, you can't say that, Christine. It absolutely does matter. Please don't be one of these people that says I'm not going to vote because they're all the same.
Oh, no, I do vote.
Okay.
But the thing is that it really doesn't matter who comes in and who
It
goes
does.
out because
Yes, it does.
They all make their own little mistakes, don't they?
Yep, but making mistakes is one thing, but deliberately sabotaging things is something completely different.
So, who has sabotaged something?
Well,
then?
you mentioned the hospital. Let me ask you this, Christine. Can you remember what life was like 13 years ago? Was it easier or more difficult to get a hospital appointment 13 years ago?
Okay, to be honest, like, I was looking after my mum with dementia, actually. She passed away in 2016.
Right.
And that was, but we had fabulous care, actually.
Well, then that's fortunate. Most people would say it is
actually,
more.
Today,
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Wait a minute. One moment, please. I would have to say that most people would say that it is more difficult now to get an appointment with a doctor or a consultant than it was 13 years ago when the Tories took over.
No, because
What do you mean, no? Yes is the answer to that.
No, because I've got 4 appointments coming up.
Well, like I said, I would say that that's fortunate, but of course it's not fortunate. It's unfortunate for you. But most people would say that it is more difficult getting a doctor's appointment now than it was 13 years ago. And I know that that's the truth because we used to have the #1 rated health service in the world. Most of it was because of ease of access. I mean, the results of that treatment were better in some other countries, depending on which treatment it is that you were after. But for ease of access, we had the #1 service in the world. Now, we definitely don't. Your particular case notwithstanding, Christine.
No, but what I'm saying is that maybe down in this little pocket down here, then, I'm living in, like, Wonderland or something.
Wow, that sounds great.
No, but what's happened is, like, I've been able to get,
multiple appointments. Yeah, I get that. Your personal experience is good just recently. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about most people. So, given that that's true, and given that it seems to have got worse with each passing year of the current regime, that would be what I would say is a difference. That differentiates the Conservative Party to the Labour Party, because the party that was in power that gave us that world #1 health service was Labour. So when people say they're all the same and it won't matter who's in charge, yes, it absolutely will. I mean, you'd have to say that if the Tory party were determined to break the NHS to the point that you just give up on it, and if you have any money at all, you go private, then that would be consistent with what we're experiencing, isn't it? I mean, how many times 13 years ago would you think that, to hell with it, I'm going to go private? People who didn't have private health insurance. Well, you just wouldn't even think about it because you could rely on the NHS. You can't even rely on the NHS for as an emergency service now. Never mind about elective stuff. If ambulances are queuing outside A&E, that is the definition of an emergency service that has gone wrong, isn't it? I mean, if you're in an ambulance, then you need immediate treatment. And if you can't get it because the ambulance is behind 10 other ambulances that can't disgorge their patients because there's no room in A&E, then you ain't even got an emergency service anymore. So they've run down the service to the point that people don't even think about. I mean, if you've got any money at all, you don't even think about going to the, calling up your GP because you know you won't be allowed to see him. At most, you'll get a phone call. Didn't used to be like that. People used to be able to call up their GP and visit them the next day, if not that day. Well, it is still like that in some European countries. They've managed to overtake us. Now, it's specifically because of, it's because of a variety of reasons, chief amongst which is money and the political will to actually, give us the service that we deserve and we paid for, damn it. So, yes, it does matter who's in charge. And it just irks me massively when people say that it doesn't. Just stop and think. Tamworth, the scene of the crime. David.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Well, if you want to know why he lost his seat, why he didn't win the Tory candidate,
yes,
it's because he made it his sort of mission to say that the Labour candidate didn't live in Tamworth and was from Birmingham. Well, Tamworth is what you'd call an overspill town.
Birmingham adjacent.
Yeah, so after the war, lots of bomb-damaged land in Birmingham, etc.
Yeah.
A lot of Brummies came to Tamworth.
Right.
And I think he kind of alienated a few people.
Do you not think that it's possible that people had thought, well, we've had 13 years of the Conservatives, and I'm not entirely delighted, pleased and thrilled, so let's try something else.
Definitely, yeah, and I think the naughty Tories, I mean, it's kind of ironic, isn't it, that Mr Pincher brought Boris down. Boris had to go, and I'll tell you the reason why Boris had to go.
Because it's Boris Johnson?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And he shouldn't have been left in charge of running a bath, never mind a country?
Well, he had to go when it all kicked off with Pincher. He had to go, because if there had been a by-election and Boris was still in charge, he would have seen Tamworth Castle and wanted to be king of the castle.
Oh, no. This isn't a listener with material, is it?
Oh, no, I'm just sort of... Can you imagine him saying, oh, look at that castle?
Oh, you're not going to reiterate that now, are you?
No, I'm not, no. But anyway.
If at first you don't succeed, David, give up. That's my advice. All right, thanks. Who did you vote for, by the way?
I'm not going to say.
That sounds like a Conservative voter to me.
No, I'm not a Conservative voter, no. Definitely no, not for him. I actually messaged him.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a reply, and I just thought, well, if you can't even be bothered to do that...
Exactly.
And it wasn't even like a long message, it was, will you be canvassing in my area?
Right.
That was it, simple.
He didn't even reply to that.
No, he didn't, no. And on the Tamworth Conservatives Facebook page as well,
So you voted for Ian Cooper?
No.
You voted for Ashley Simon?
No, and I didn't vote for Lord Buckethead because Lord Buckethead didn't even make an appearance. It's terrible.
Sonny Verk.
No.
Sue Howarth.
I'm not going to say. Anyway.
It was Sue Howarth. Oh,
no, it wasn't.
Is it? No, it wasn't Sue Howarth. It was Sarah.
It wasn't your Greenies, neither. I mean, now they're getting Tamworth. You know, I mean, the Greenies are all, you know, it's all great, but we don't have a good transport system here. So if they're going to tax the hell out of you for using a motor car until we've all got electric cars and we've all got to have the drives dug up to put the higher powered electric cable through to your house to charge your electric car, then you just sort of wasting your time, really. It's that they're, we'll tax you now, and then we'll put the infrastructure in. Well, it has to be a gradual thing. And, you know...
believe me, David, they will still find a way to tax you, regardless of what you stick up your car. Yeah. Whether it's petrol or electricity, you'll be taxed all the same. Don't you worry about that.
I mean, here, for example, they've stopped the buses after, like, the local bus service, so after 7 o'clock it doesn't run.
Right.
It runs from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, but, use public transport. And I used to use it, you know, I'd go down and meet my mum and my brother and that, and have a nice Chinese in town, and get the bus home.
Yes.
Because it's cheaper than a taxi, and it stops not far from my house.
Right.
Brilliant. And then, no one, because I don't know, anyone was using it, but if they don't sort of advertise it, and I think that's the thing nowadays, you have to look for things on the internet things to do in thingy. You don't tend to go somewhere and pick up a leaflet. Oh, yeah, I'll go and do that, you know?
Well, what is there to do in Tamworth? Be honest.
Visit the castle.
Yes, the aforementioned castle, yeah. Now, what's left of the castle? A couple of bricks?
No, you can live in it.
What?
Yeah, you can... it was secure enough to put the Staffordshire Hoard in. I went to see Staffordshire Hoard there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to say about Boris. If they've seen the castle, well, I can live in there,
That's the third time you've said that. It didn't work the first time, or the two follow-up times. So you voted for Peter Longman.
No, Tamworth was the capital of Mercia as well, and which at one point did include London.
Tamworth included London? Is that what you just said?
Well, Tamworth was like the capital of the Kingdom of Mercia. Yeah,
yes.
Which at one point did include parts of London.
Right.
So it was like the capital of the UK, if you like, yeah?
Right. And how they have, how times have changed, though, eh?
Oh, yeah.
So you voted for Sarah Edwards?
I didn't know. I'm not going to say.
Well, that sounds like a UKIP voter, then.
Oh, get out of here. Who were them? I've never heard of them.
Britain First.
No, I'm not going to say.
You didn't vote at all, did you?
I did, of course I did. Yeah, but I'm just not going to say who.
All right, then. Okay, I believe you. Millions wouldn't, David, but I will. How does that sound?
Yeah,
okay. I think we'll end on that note of concord. Excellent work, that man. Transport Secretary Mark Harper said the blanket 20-mile-an-hour speed limits for restricted roads deployed by the Labour-run Welsh Government make life harder for motorists and are incredibly unpopular with the public. And as you might expect from something that a Tory minister said, that's not true. Just last week in Wales, a poll by Redfield and Wilton Strategies found that 46% of people support the policy of 20-mile-an-hour speed limits on roads compared to 34% who opposed it. 46% support the policy, 34% opposed it. Now, I'm no maths expert, but I think that 46 is a bigger number than 34. Almost half as many people, again, support 20 mile an hour than oppose it. And in the eyes of this government, that means that it's very, very unpopular. You know, but like I said before, no one's interested in facts anymore. We're all about feelings, baby. And as long as they can make enough people just angry enough, they think that it's a route to success. Mr. Harper said it was not sensible to have a blanket policy like the decision in Wales. I mean, they really do get training for this stuff, don't they? They all say the same thing, the buzzwords and phrases. It's not an accident when every Tory minister goes on telly and says the same thing, word for word. Not an accident, it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy to befuddle the electorate. Fishy said the same thing. Those desperately sad eyes he's got and that bouncy way. Blanket policy, he said. It's not a blanket policy. He was told it wasn't a blanket policy on television, and his response was just to repeat the phrase again, like a robot.
Correct.
Clampdown was seen in Wales. It's become the first country in the UK to reduce speed limits down from 30 in built-up residential areas with a view to saving lives and cutting costs for the NHS. And there it is. Saving lives and cutting costs for the NHS. Which party is against saving lives and protecting the NHS? The Conservative Party. I mean, as long as they're making it clear, we might as well say it out loud. These measures in Wales and in cities with ultra-low emissions zones and pedestrianisations aren't anti-car, they're pro-people. But in their flailing panic at losing power and the access to the magic money tree, the Tories seem to have been told, because I don't believe for a second that Fishy came up with any of this himself, he's been told that prattling on about anti-car measures is a winner with the kind of people who voted for the Tories last time. I mean, I assume that's the reasoning. White van man types, the people who voted for Brexit, the permanently angry at everything types. I mean, just pause for a second and think. What kind of person would object to an extra 5 minutes on their car journey to save the life of a child? Because most car journeys are less than 5 miles. It's about 3/4 of all car journeys are 5 miles or less. So 5 miles at 30 miles an hour, it would take you 10 minutes to get there. 5 miles at 20 miles an hour takes 15 minutes. Who among those furious anger merchants bellowing about this are so busy, so in demand, that they cannot afford to lose 5 minutes from their hectic schedule? None of them. Who among them don't prefer walking along a street that's got cafes and wide footpaths or traffic-free zones where they can wander calmly around, enjoying the vibe, as opposed to being squeezed onto a narrow pavement while cars and lorries charge past at a speed that would kill anyone if they hit them? I mean, what exactly are they so animated about? People, don't you realise you're being used? You're being manipulated by those with evil intent to make you angry about something that's likely to make your life better. And think who would benefit if we all drive faster, if we give our spaces over to the car? The fossil fuel industry. And which industry did the Tories get £3.5 million in donations from last year? Can you guess? And you got the Tigger of truth twisters, the actual Prime Minister, Fishy Sunak, saying that he's slamming the brakes on harebrained schemes like the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, as well as low-traffic neighbourhoods. Low-traffic neighbourhoods. Driving at speeds that will kill fewer children. Harebrained. He actually said that. I mean, he really is beyond redemption. What a truly appalling man he is. I mean, at least with Bodger, you knew what you were getting. A needy blob of greed that would do anything to maximise his pleasure in any given moment. We understood where we were with him.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
But this guy, this weird little man who none of us voted for, who's been imposed upon us because he wasn't as unhinged as Liz Truss.
Absolutely.
But seems twice as nasty, somehow. You know, there was 29,795 people killed or seriously injured on the roads in this country last year. 29,795. I mean, you'd think that making the streets safer with less traffic and dropping your speed to a rate at which you are 10 times more likely to survive being hit by a car, and a speed that you can stop in half the distance it takes to stop at 30, would be an easy sell to people who actually cared about this country. But the fact is, the fact that the Prime Minister doesn't appear to care about the people of this country is hardly worth mentioning. I mean, that seems obvious. What's depressing is that he thinks there's just enough people who don't care about any of that, who just care about themselves and to hell with everybody else. Just enough people who will be persuaded by all of this to vote for him in at the next election. And what's worse is, I wouldn't be surprised if he's right. Edinburgh, hello, Martin.
Hi, Nick. I think when you look at the Tories, you have to be mindful of the fact that they are at least holding back this tsunami of woke nonsense. When, if you know, Labour
is this 2 in a row on the Nicky Abbott show?
It certainly is.
Oh no.
I think when you look at Labour, they are going to ultimately undermine freedom of speech. They're going to undermine equality legislation.
They're going to undermine freedom of speech. What do you mean by that?
So I live in Scotland, and here in Scotland, the Labour Party, along with the SNP and the Lib Dems, helped to pass the hate crime bill, which essentially criminalises certain forms of speech that some people find offensive or insulting. So we can find significant, tangible examples of Labour attacking freedom of speech. I can give other examples as well.
Well, I've got a better example. If you complain loudly about this government, that is breaking the law.
Under which law, though?
Under the Public Nuisance Act, or whatever it was called, some long-winded title.
Public Nuisance Act?
Yeah.
So people are being arrested for criticising the government as we speak?
Well, I don't know about as we speak. It's 11:45. There's probably not many crowds on the street at the moment, but you surely do know that if they don't take to you, you can be arrested, even if you're just one person.
Who's been arrested, though, for criticising the government?
Who's been arrested for whatever it was that you just said?
So the bill that I cited has a maximum penalty of 7 years in jail.
Right, well, who's been arrested? No one. Like I said, 2 in a row on the Nicky Abbott show. Just another pain in the neck, just trying to get a rise out of me. Like, this week hasn't been annoying enough. I've got annoying callers. And, you know, like that last guy, trying to kid on that the Labour Party are about restricting freedom of speech and then coming up with the hate crime. Yeah. What people like that want is to yell epithets across the street. I mean, the clue's in the name. Hate. That's what you want more freedom to scream. Hate. On the other hand, if you protest against the government can have you arrested. Yes, there's a woman in jail at this moment for holding up a sign outside a court that says something like, you can decide on the case depending on your conscience. Words to that effect. The exact same words that are chiselled into the stone of the building she was standing outside. And she's in jail for that. So that last guy can take a running jump at himself. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. Chelsea, hello, Mark.
Hello, hi. May I just say you're a breath of fresh air.
Thanks.
Did you ever watch Porridge?
Yes.
I think it was a disgraced judge who entered the public lavatory in the prison, and Ronnie Barker had a conversation in private. And Ronnie Barker said, when someone actually comes in here and does what they're supposed to, it's like a breath of fresh air. And after the nepotism and caste system that gave us the semi-literacy and predictability of the last presenter, you really are a breath of fresh air. You really are.
Right, OK, that's very nice of you to say so, Mark. But what do you think about Rishi Sunak's prospects?
Yes, let's get back to politics, because there was a man sleeping in his car who phoned the ex-Prime Minister Johnson's sister and said, I can't vote. And she said, can we get back to politics? So, yes, let's go. I thought he was discussing Greek mythology. It was quite interesting, the level of semi-literacy and stupidity involved there. But, yes, let's get back to politics. It's a two-horse race, as usual, and there really is very little difference in the betting and the quality of these people, because I watched Blair have a major war and continue selling council flats after the war, and the selling of council flats that created more homelessness, created Baroness Thatcher, you know. So it's very little difference. But what we have here is a new introduction which is getting at beige people, getting at beige people. Yes, they're super rich Sunak and Suella Braverman, but the colonization culturally, as well as following into bloody, dirty, unwinnable, dangerous wars that we follow America into, in language. So locker room is changing room became locker room, etc. Chips are fries. So Braverman went to the US. Now there you have a two-horse race. It's Trump versus this very, very nice old man who's now gone on strike. Well, it's a very unusual thing for him to go on the front line and strike with people who are striking. I mean, liberal is a dirty word there, as you know. So this is the same thing. It's like Brexit. You got very near half of the people who will, out of those who do vote, voting for something. So we now have this system. I mean, I'm sure if Sir Keir comes in, we're not going to suddenly see a massive influx. And I wish he does. I hope he does. We're not going to have a massive rebuilding programme of social housing.
No, perhaps we won't notice an immediate difference, but over time, I'm sure that we as a nation would deviate from where we would have been had the Conservatives won the next general election. Yeah, that seems fairly certain. Great Notley, Ben.
Hello, sir. I've never listened to this radio show before.
Oh, no.
I'm literally in your cab. I'm in a cab, and I've just heard you. You are very, very patronising towards the game of rugby. I'd just like to know your opinion.
Yeah. Well, my opinion about rugby is completely correct. A bunch of steroidal freaks running into each other. How's that even a sport?
Well, how do you base your argument?
That is my argument. There are a bunch of steroidal freaks running into each other. How's that even a sport?
Yeah, but can I just say, have you ever played rugby before?
Played it? No. I avoided playing it at school by skiving off and going to the cafe around the corner and sitting in the basement and playing David Bowie records on the jukebox. Does that count?
Well, there you go. You didn't get picked for it, so you wasn't good enough.
I didn't show up for it.
Was you good enough?
I've never played it. Is this thing on? Hello?
Well, there you go. So you have no opinion. You was never good enough to play it. You're not a gentleman. So please please stop talking about rugby. And
I will talk about rugby. I only want calls about rugby from this moment on. Only calls about rugby on this show for the next 2 hours. I mean it. Thanks a lot, Ben. 2 in a row on the Nicky Abbott show. Chingford, John.
Oh, hello, Nick. After I've done this wildlife thing, am I allowed to recommend a couple of great comedy films, or maybe is that off topic? Or
well, do them first. What are they?
Well, two from the 70s. I think one was remade much later, but one's Where's Popper with George Segal and the wonderful Ruth Gordon. Excruciatingly.
Never heard of it. What's the other?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's very dark humour, but very, very funny. And the other one's the original Heartbreak Kid with Charles Grodin.
Never heard of that either.
Oh, they're two great. I mean, the humour is very dark, but it's not.
I'll look out for them on TCM. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, I've recommended those films. Shall I get back on topic now? Sorry, I'm a bit.
There's a topic?
Well, yeah, I was going to talk about us being invaded by, first bed bugs, but now we're being invaded by Chinese mitten crabs. Your glamorous assistant knows what they're all about. I wouldn't recommend you Googling them because they're rather horrible looking. But apparently they're very good eating, but they love our waterways, and I'm wondering what they must be eating.
Well, from the way you're describing them, it sounds like they come over here and take over our precious... I don't know, got no idea. But they're an invading species, right? Invasive.
Oh, very much so, yeah. They've got sort of furry arms and hairy legs. So I wouldn't want one of those served up in a restaurant. But only Google them only for the non-faint-hearted, really.
Right. Crabs.
Chinese mitten crabs, and they're called mitten crabs because they've got furry legs. You know where the claw is? They've got this, like, It's like a fur muffler on each that precedes the claw. Very, very weird.
Okay, well, thanks for the warning. I'll not that I'm ever likely to go into a body of water that's not surrounded by tiles. Not in this country, anyway.
Disgusting.
I'll keep my eyes peeled. Harrow, Jonathan.
Quick. Hello?
Yes, Jonathan.
Quit. This country, first, my throat has been...
This is a very bad line, Jonathan. I can barely hear you. It's a dream come true.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I was saying my throat is injured.
Your throat is injured?
Stop whining.
Why is that?
Because I went to the amateur boxing viewing a few weekends.
The amateur boxing viewing?
And it is, I also enrolled into a gym in London.
You did what now?
And a gym.
A what?
Boxing gym.
Oh, a gym. Yes. Yeah. Oh, you went to a boxing gym, yeah.
And it is all now Eastern European fighters, because the British men are all, they're doing the woke stuff.
The wokey-cokey.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
They are, one thing is called the grappling, where you roll about on the floor with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
For the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, now, I wanted to do it with a man, I wanted a male partner, but a girl, 18 years old, she choked me 3 times.
Right. But not quite enough, I suspect.
And I can't tolerate the economy anymore. Can I say a few things, please? The more time I spend with the public now, everybody has become... Today I did some social activities, and people are just on edge now. I know you don't like Rishi Sunak. I was in Kolkata when he got elected. I was so happy because he's a British Indian man. And when he was being interviewed by one of your boys on the station, for the first time, Rishi started to looked irritated now.
Yeah, tetchy. Tetchy Sunak.
Because he usually looks very like a lovely man.
Well, let's not get carried away. Did you get hit in the head a lot when you went to that gym?
They choked me.
They choked you, you're right.
And when you go to the amateur fight, everybody's having the punch-up in the crowd.
Yeah.
The
crowd, yes.
That's true.
Yeah, you went to a fight and a boxing match broke out, right.
And the younger generation now...
Oh, this line is really cracking up, Jonathan, and unfortunately, I can still hear you.
Can I say one last thing?
One in closing, yeah.
Because what is now happening is I was on the train, and you've got all of these fatness who are waiting on the train, and you can't talk about nothing, and there are 6 topics you can't talk about. The rap music is persuading everyone to be pregnant, and young people are all wearing rainbow underpants. It's true.
The rap music is telling everyone to be pregnant, and they're wearing rainbow underpants. I don't think you're going to top that, Jonathan. Excellent work. Thanks a lot, mate, for, whatever that was.